How do you start the process of buying a home? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Jeb Smith, real estate broker with Coldwell Banker here in Huntington Beach, California. This topic comes up quite a bit, when just talking to different people about the home buying process. Where do I start? What's the first step? So that's what we're going to touch on today. And I'm going to take this down to really basic levels and talk about the home buying process. So as if you know absolutely nothing about the process of buying a home. And so the first step, in my opinion, is really starting with a budget, finding out how much you can afford per month. What are you comfortable spending per month on a mortgage payment? That's really where you need to start. I know it sounds very, very basic. Most people want to find out, hey, how much can I afford to purchase? All that good stuff, and then kind of working their way down. But I would say the smarter move is first starting with a budget. Find out how much you can afford to spend per month based on your expenses in other areas. And then from there, you're going to figure out how much money you have for a down payment. Are you coming up with the down payment yourself? Is it coming from a gift from parents? If it's coming from another source, find out how much you have, because this is going to come up in the pre-approval process, in the next step, in the third step, if you will. So one is finding your budget. Two is finding how much money you have to put down towards a mortgage, when buying a property. And thirdly is going to be actually talking to a mortgage professional. So this is, whether you go into a bank to get pre-qualified, which I don't recommend, or speaking to a mortgage broker, which is somebody that essentially has the ability to go to multiple banks and qualify you versus just going into, say, one bank to qualify you. So the difference is walking into, say, your traditional bank. I won't say any names, but just think of your traditional bank that you bank at, and getting pre-qualified with them. They essentially have their programs alone. They have their guidelines. So if you don't meet their guidelines, their programs, then essentially you don't qualify. Going to a mortgage broker, they have access to not only that bank, but access to, depending on how many they're approved with, up to, hundreds of banks in some cases. So they have the ability to take your scenario and test it against multiple, or test it with multiple banks, if you will, to find out who has the best rates, to find out who has different guidelines, one versus another, depending on your scenario, to ultimately help you get qualified. So speaking to a mortgage broker, in my opinion, is usually the best option. And if you need a referral there, I'm happy to help. So come, reach out to me directly. Happy to put you in touch with someone who can help you down that path. In other words, getting pre-approved is really that third step. You want to find out how much you can afford. And so, they're going to ask you how much money you have for down payment. And they're also going to want to run your credit. They're going to want to take a look at your tax returns, your financials, checking accounts, savings accounts, all of that good stuff. So it's a good idea, if you're thinking about buying that process, to start gathering those documents. If you're self-employed, you need full tax returns. If you're a W-2 employee, tax returns are fine, but you're also going to need W-2s. So W-2s, bank statements, tax returns, all of that good stuff. And if you're getting a gift from a parent, a gift letter is something that you'll need. And what they're going to do is they're going to take all those calculations, they're going to run your credit, and they're going to figure out how much debt you have. And then there's something called a debt to income ratio. And it's exactly what it says. It's your debt to your income. So they're going to take your monthly payments on all your credit cards, your student loans, all the items that you're having to pay per month, and calculate your income, and you divide those two, and it gives you a ratio. And there's a certain number that you have to be under in order to qualify for a mortgage. And so in a lot of cases, you may qualify for more house than you actually are comfortable spending per month. And so in that case, you'll talk to that lender and have that lender adjust their numbers according to what you're comfortable per month. And then that will tell you essentially how much home you can afford to purchase. And in some cases, you may be willing to pay more money per month than you can actually qualify. And so that's why the pre-approval process is really, the most critical point of the home buying process, because it really sets you up for determining that next step, and that's how much property you can afford. Because I see a lot of times buyers will go out, start looking at property, start looking online at Zillow in a price range that they think they can afford, or homes that they really like, or where they want to be, and come to find out they can't afford that price range. They're in a completely different price range entirely, and may not even be able to purchase in this area at all. They might have to go out to a different area. And so that's one of the common mistakes in the home buying process, is skipping over the pre-approval process and starting that home search. So what I mentioned today, I realize is very basic, but it's really the steps in the home buying process to really set you up for success. And I'm going to recap those again. And the first one is determining your budget. Second, determine how much down payment you have. And thirdly is speaking to a mortgage professional to help take you through that pre-approval process and ultimately tell you what you can afford. Once you have those in place, then you can start talking to a realtor. Then you can start going to open houses and looking online, because then you have an idea of where your price range is. You know exactly how much you can afford to purchase. And from there, you're in a position to buy a home if the right home presents itself. Go in the other direction. If you go out looking before you get pre-approved, then you're kind of behind the 8 ball, if you will, if you find something you like, because now you've got to take a step back and go through the steps that I mentioned earlier. And in the market we're in right now with tight inventory and high buyer demand, chances are if you haven't done that process initially, you're not going to be in a position to buy that property. So take it from me when I say start with the basics before you move to that step of looking at houses or talking to a realtor. I mean, I guess it's okay to talk to a realtor, but before going out and looking at property with a realtor, just to make sure you're fully pre-approved and you know exactly what to expect, based on the purchase price that you're looking in with regards to a monthly payment. So I hope that is helpful. If you have additional questions about the home buying process, anything on starting the process, or maybe you're in the process now and you have questions, do me a favor, comment below or contact me directly. I'd love the opportunity to help. Either way, I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we'll see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.